Kentucky has replaced John Calipari with BYU coach Mark Pope. Oh, it's not that popular.
It doesn't sound like it.
It's not that popular. After being turned down by Scott Drew and Dan Hurley, Mitch Barnhart, the Kentucky athletic director, turned his attention to Mark Pope, a former UK Wildcat who was a member of the 1996 Wildcats, won a national championship with Rick Pitino as his coach. And reportedly, Billy Donovan was interested, but the University of Kentucky didn't want to wait for Billy Donovan's season to end with the Chicago Bulls, even though Billy Donovan's season with the Chicago Bulls is likely to end next week. Bennett, mistake or not a mistake to hire Mark Pope now because you didn't want to wait on Billy Donovan till at least next week?
I mean, I kind of lean. I don't know if it's a mistake. You got a former Wildcat. The guy has, I mean, in fairness to him, the guy has won in one of the toughest leagues in the country. Kind of. But the NCAA.
9 years as a head coach, no conference championships, no NCAA tournament wins. But to your point, did just take BYU to a fifth-place finish in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Got a sixth seed in the NCAA tournament. He did a good job at BYU this season.
So, do I think he's going to come in and them just be bad? No, I bet they're competitive next season in the SEC. I don't know if they're an NCAA tournament team, but I bet with him as their coach, they're going to be a decent college basketball team next year because he'll get some of his guys and he's a pretty good coach. But yes, I think that they should have waited. I mean, you talked about this yesterday. It's not a hire that your fan base is going to get crazy about. Even as a former alum, it's just not a hire that your fan base, the Kentucky fan base, is going to get super fired up about. It's just not.
Well, they're not.
Yeah.
And it's one thing if you know that Billy Donovan will not take your job. So waiting on Billy Donovan isn't even an option. But the reporting is that Billy Donovan was open to listening. And common sense just tells you he should have been open to listening.
Yeah, what if he gets fired?
I mean, he could be fired in a week.
Right.
Or if he's not, he will enter next season with real job pressure. He's been in Chicago now 4 years.
Right.
This is year 4. He's missed the playoffs twice, never won a playoff series, and is about to finish in the play-in. Odds are they'll lose in the play-in at some point, and then that'll be that. Guys like that get fired.
Mm-hmm.
And if he comes back and does a 5th year of similar stuff, he definitely will get fired.
Yep.
So the thing some Kentucky fans, I guess, couldn't quite grasp as I was trotting this stuff out there is that, because you would hear this all the time, well, he's already turned us down twice. What do you want to do? Let him turn us down again? Yeah, well, he turned you down twice under different circumstances. And by the way, just because somebody turns you down once doesn't mean they'll turn you down again later. I've turned down jobs before, and then you know what? Turn around and accepted them years later. I've done that.
Right.
Hey, you want this job? Not right now. I don't know if this is right now for me. Fast forward a few years. Hey, we'd like to talk to you again. Okay, let's talk. Now it makes more sense. Let's do this. I've done that. So why wouldn't he do that? And by the way, his situations are vastly different. The first time you tried to hire him, he was the head coach at the University of Florida. He had won national championships at Florida. It was very hard for him to walk away from that to go to a school in the same league when his legacy was so intact at Florida. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Once upon a time, he was in the NBA coaching Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook. Well, how do you walk away from that? I mean, that's one of the best jobs in the league. He coached in the NBA Finals. That's not what jobs he has anymore. He's not the coach at Florida right now.
Right.
He's not the coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook right now. You know what he is? He's the coach of a mediocre Eastern Conference team that seems to be going nowhere. And if he's mediocre again next season, he'll be fired.
Yeah, and if you're a Kentucky fan and you look up in 2 years and he's killing it at Georgia or Missouri or somewhere like that, you're sick. I mean, you're just sick. We could have probably had this guy.
I think they could have had him.
Yeah.
I think they could have had him. All they had to do was wait. Because it wouldn't, if you were advising Billy Donovan, You might advise him when he was at Florida, you don't want to ruin your legacy at Florida to go be the head coach at Kentucky. Just keep doing what you're doing at Florida. Plus, your dream is to go to the NBA anyway. So don't damage your legacy at Florida by going to Kentucky. Just when you leave Florida, make sure it's for the NBA because that's where you want to be anyway. That's the way you would advise him in that moment, right? Hey, college basketball's calling again, but you're the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder. You got Kevin Durant, you got Russell Westbrook, you got some of the young future Hall of Famers. Like, this is a good spot. Don't give this up. That's the way you would advise him. You know what I would advise him right now? Billy, here's your options. You can come back next year and get a year 5 in Chicago. Roster is going to be about what it is. You're not going to be a factor in the East. Not like the Celtics, not like the Sixers, not like anybody else. You're just going to be you can maybe, if things go really well, you'll finish 6th in the East. If things go poorly, you'll miss the playoffs. And odds are you will get fired after next year. That's option 1. If you want to keep that option, you can have it. Option 2 is walk away from this right now. Go to Kentucky. Be one of the highest paid coaches in college basketball. Have one of the best NIL packages in college basketball. And you don't have to recruit the way you used to recruit. You just have to use this NIL money to go out and buy the best team you can buy each and every year. When those are the 2 options on the table, which one's more appealing? It's not even close to me.
No, it's not close.
I think they could have got him if they'd have just waited. And I know that by waiting, you might have lost a player here or there or missed out on a player here or there. But Mark Pope is not going to keep this recruiting class. That recruiting class is going to go to Arkansas with John Calipari.
And because there's a coaching change, your fan base is already probably assuming you're not like going to have this amazing season next year. You got a little bit of goodwill there.
The fan base would be more excited having a mediocre first season under Billy Donovan than they will having it. Then they'll be excited having a kind of good year in year 1 under Mark Pope. And then you would have always had year 2 and the rest of it with Billy Donovan going forward. It doesn't mean that Mark Pope won't be good at Kentucky. I think any coach that's competent would be good at Kentucky. It's hard to lose there. Very easy to win.
Yeah.
I think he'll be fine. But if Mitch Barnhart can tell me Billy Donovan did not want our job and there was nothing we could do to get him, then I understand. But I don't think that's the truth. I think they just decided we're not waiting on him. So we got to move now. And moving now, I think, is a mistake. Mark Pope might go on to be just fine. I think that he will. But if the only reason you didn't end up with Billy Donovan is because you weren't willing to wait a week or so, that seems short-sighted to me.
Yeah.
That seems short-sighted.
The Gary Parrish Show, live weekdays at 10 a.m.